Welcome to the Generation Why Not podcast with Ruth Klein, a 6-time best-selling author, creative brand strategist, and book coach for small businesses, entrepreneurs, authors, mompreneurs, and professionals today. She is the president of the award-winning firm Expert Celebrity Branding, and the Wall Street Journal calls her the marketing maven. This podcast will be interviewing this generation, those who are doing things differently because of their perceptual shift of what success looks like, and who are driven by attitude, not age. They know anything is possible, and you'll hear how this generation feels the fear and keeps going anyway to achieve their goals and dreams, whether they be in business, sports, the arts, or lifestyle.
Welcome to Generation Why Not. I'm Ruth Klein, your host. And Generation Why Not is a generation that is driven by attitude, not age. And on this show, I interview people from all walks of life who have really made a dent, and a good one, in their lives and in business and politics, science, education. And were all driven by this incessant curiosity to keep going and always asking, why not? So today we have just a wonderful, wonderful guest. I was fortunate enough to be able to hear her speak in person, and I thought, oh my gosh, I want her on my show. And her name is Vanessa Dew, and she co-founded Health-Ade Kumbucha in 2012 alongside her best friends and husband and wife team, Justin and Dana Trout. And Vanessa is the Chief Sales Officer, and she brings invaluable knowledge from her sales and marketing that she has amassed for years while she worked at a major pharmaceutical company before leaving there to help start Health-Ade Kumbucha. And I love this terminology. Her expertise in channel penetration and people management. I love that. Channel penetration and people management. Now that's a marketer, man. That's a marketer and a salesperson. Dew has led Health-Ade's sales team to boost availability in key channels and markets while cultivating the Health-Ade brand as a whole. Originally, Vanessa is from Los Angeles, and she received her BS in biochemistry from UC San Diego and an MBA from the University of Southern California. Please help me welcome Vanessa Dew. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Ruth. So happy to be here with you today.
Oh, it's great to have you. You know, I heard you speak, and I just loved what you had to say. As you know, I had a lot of questions to ask, and you answered them really well. You know, I was quite impressed because sometimes when people, well, actually a lot of times when people ask me questions and there's several questions in that one question, I forget the second part, but you didn't. And I have to tell you, I was impressed by that. I really was, because I think I asked you one question, but I really was asking 3 questions, and you remembered each one of those and came back and answered them beautifully. So I was impressed right from the go.
Oh, thank you. Happy to do that. I'm glad you remembered that.
Yeah, because very few people are able to do that. And I know for myself, sometimes I get so distracted with that. So I wanted to ask you, what motivated you to start a new business, and specifically Health-Ade Kumbucha?
Yeah. I mean, at the heart of it, I really felt like there was something more out there for me to accomplish. At the time, I was working, 9 to 5, regular corporate job. That's where I met my best friend. And it was a fine job, but it didn't challenge me. It didn't allow me to go the extra mile. And it didn't make me feel like I was leaving a mark on society, leaving a positive mark on the community. I was just there. And it's a horrible feeling when you want to do more, you want to achieve more, and you want to take it there, wherever there is. So that was really the unfulfilled feeling that fueled the idea to start an entrepreneur club which me, my best friend, and her now husband really started to brainstorm different ideas in the marketplace. We tried to diagnose different opportunities, pains in the marketplace, and understand how can we solve them? How can we bring something to market that would help solve a pain for the community? So, we were tinkering away, brainstorming away, and, at the heart of it, we were just so hungry and eager to make something ours and make our mark on the world. And that's really the feeling that kickstarted us into business.
Isn't that interesting? And when did it hit you? When you first started your pharmaceutical sales job, and you're probably very excited, when did it hit you that, oh my gosh, there's so much more than this?
Yeah, so it was my first job right out of college. And so for a early 20-year-old to, be in this large pharmaceutical company, it seemed very exciting. But when it started to become a little bit more routine, a couple years down the line, when you really didn't feel like you're moving the needle, then it really started to not feel right on the inside. The gut didn't feel like something was settling right. So I would say a couple years down the line, around when I was 25, and that's actually when I decided to look for something else. And at the time, I thought it was going to be business school. So I did start business school while I was working to help, distract me while I figured out my next step. And it was during that time when I also started this entrepreneur club with Dinah and Justin.
It's interesting, Vanessa. I'm sure the income was really good. And yet there's more to it, right? There's more to it than just a good income.
Definitely. You want to feel that you're making a difference. That's really the heart of it. And it's not just about the dollars and cents.
Right. And, I really want to acknowledge you. You're really young to figure that out. Really, still in your 20s. And you didn't allow that, that ego piece to lead you and guide you and drive you, even though you knew this wasn't for you at some point.
Yeah, I like to say age is just a number, because really at any age you can kind of discover that. And if anything, I felt like I was, young enough to take a risk and have a fallback plan, if anything, right? So it seemed like the right time.
It's always the right time, right? And you're so right. It has nothing to do with age. It's all with attitude and what speaks to us. And you heeded that voice. So that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. So was there a pivotal moment in your life that changed the trajectory of what you were doing or how you were being?
Yeah. So I would say there are a couple points that come to mind. One of them that I'll share is an experience with my mom. So my mom has always been a huge role model for me. She's always been a working mom, but she's always been a very present mom. She herself is very well educated and always so well dispositioned and the host of anyone. So I loved how she just showed up. And for me, she was such a role model. When I found out that she was sick with cancer for the first time, it really stuck with me. And she did come out of that, and she was in remission for a little bit. But that first diagnosis really hit me that, man, you, yourself, your loved ones, no one's invincible. And that really helped shape kind of how I wanted to live my life. It's with no regret, and understanding that I wanted to spend time with the people I most cared about.
Isn't it interesting that, that's a big pivotal moment when I would imagine the world kind of stops for a moment, and it gives you an opportunity to reflect and really, really get shaken to your boots, in terms of what does that mean and how do I really want to live?
Yeah, it shakes you, right? And it kind of scares you a bit. And some kind of take that and go and dwell in that, and some kind of take it a different direction.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let me ask you, what are two areas of business that you've had to learn on the job?
Wow.
That you and I'm only going to have you do two. There's probably many, many more. But what are two areas of business where you've really, you've had to learn it on the job and you didn't see it coming?
Yeah. So I would say the first and foremost is management and leading of people. So, me, myself, I was just never a manager of people formally.
Yeah.
And so starting a company with your best friends, building a team, building a company, being an effective manager, being a strong leader, those are all very interesting qualities to develop that you're kind of just thrown in the fire with, and you got to kind of pick it up, especially when you're dealing with people of all different perspectives, and they all have a different level of EQ that they're working with, and they all have a different level of need and, I guess, expressiveness and ability to be radically candid and speak about how they're feeling, how they want to move forward. And so I think just the overall management of people has been a huge learning experience for me. And, the second piece is, I think, just understanding the private equity investment schematic with some of these emerging brands. So I know a heck of a lot more now than I did 7 years ago around private equity, fundraising, what companies are looking for, how to really start to stand out as a product and, a management team to some of these private equity investors.
And how do you stand out to a private equity company?
Yeah. So, when we first started, we had no formal training in CPG. We had no formal training around how to create a pitch deck, honestly. So for the three of us, it really came down to, I think, three things. And I'm pretty sure our investors would agree with us today is, one, the product quality was never compromised, and second to none. So from the beginning to now, we always have had a standout, high quality, best in class product that once you try it, you're hooked and you have a loyalist on your hands. So that's first and foremost. And then two is, being a founding team that is really strong in terms of leading a company is really important. And I think we've been really critical in forming the culture of Health-Ade. So I think that is definitely a standout asset for sure in terms of not just who we are and what we do, but it's how we go about running our business. And that really, I think, has been a clear indicator just from a people management standpoint. And then third is making sure that we understand the gaps or potential threats to the business. It's just being cognizant, but not being bogged down and dwelling in those, and just being able to speak and mitigating that risk, but also being really proactive and aggressive in how we want to be in market and go to market.
I love that. You mentioned culture and, that being in communication and people person and leadership and all of that. What are some important culture points in your business? What type of a culture did you and your co-founders want to create?
So in the beginning, we didn't quite know how to define it. We knew that we needed it to be an extension of us without us doing everything. So we needed the qualities and characteristics to be mirrored in terms of just how people led, leading by example. So there is actually 4 letters, an acronym, it spells out GOAL, that actually does spell out our values and really what our company culture is based upon. So it spells out GOAL, and it stands for the 4 words of grit, optimism, authenticity, and leadership. So why those are important is, first and foremost, grit. We wouldn't have been able to take it from the farmer's market to multiple farmers markets to store delivery without having to roll up our sleeves and find a way and find a solution when the door was closed, you know? So that's first and foremost. Optimism is just always having this idea around there's a solution. This doesn't mean that everything is going to be okay and rosy colored, but it's with the idea that we can always push, move forward, and get better. And the authenticity is just being us, being real. You know, we make real kombucha, old-fashioned kombucha, and we've stuck by that. We know we have an authentic product, and we're just authentic people at the end of the day. So we wanted to stay true to who we were. And leadership is we really wanted to represent the idea that everyone at our company is a leader, no matter what seat they have. And we want to make sure that we're leaders out in the world of beverage, out in the world of CPG. So it translates into many different forms, internally and externally.
I love that. I have to ask, though, this grit that always fascinates me. You know, I don't see rejection as failure. I just see it as feedback. And so when you first started out, what did you do when the doors closed on you at first? Did you, as you had mentioned, had you allowed that to happen without grit, you wouldn't be where you are. So what did you do when that happened?
You know, when one door closes, you find a window to jump through, or something like that, right? But really, it was more about being really proactive in the follow-up, being, not to sound creepy, but, you know, maybe stalking the person lightly around, oh, maybe they'll be there and we can just casually meet and that will spark some dialogue. I remember one time distinctly dropping off some cases because the store ordered it in Venice, and that one market, they're like, you know, I really like you, but I gotta say, you know, you're taking on the likes of these big beverage companies. You're like David and they're Goliath. You're never going to succeed. And I remember responding with, well, we bought a health permit, so we're going for it. And I do think there's a little bit of that innocent optimism that, you know, we're going to achieve anything that has really allowed us to achieve anything. And so I think that is really important to consider too, especially as you consider the different solutions to kind of get to the end goal.
You know, I love what you're saying here, Vanessa. It's so much of success, don't you find, is that we're going to make this work. That's just, there's nothing else. We're going to make this work. And if one door closes, we're going to find another because we know there's always a solution. Exactly.
100%. So in that way, it's, you know, you just gotta push through or you're just never going to get through. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what I heard was what I would refer to as your soft stalking, the person.
Casually stalking.
I love that because, you know, at the end of the day, that definitely is an option that we may not use to our benefit.
Exactly. Totally. And because a lot of people don't feel comfortable maybe to put themselves out there because they fear, right? They fear something about how the other person will perceive them, how they're going to be, whatever that may be. And in that way, it's hard for someone to do that and put yourself out there. But in the feeling of discomfort is where you can grow the most, really.
Really, isn't that the truth? And you know, many times I'll find out where someone is that I want to meet and where they're speaking or at a conference, and I'll attend that conference so I can meet them.
Yeah. I mean, that's really interesting to do, right? And you're like really poking around to be like, how do I make this authentic connection?
Exactly. And then it becomes a warm lead, if you will, because I've just heard something about them. They've shared their business or they've shared their heart. So I can connect with them on that level. So it becomes a warm lead instead of one that is fearful. So Yeah, I have used that soft stocking too. I guess everyone has it. I guess not everyone, but I know that a lot of people, if you're really focused, a lot of entrepreneurs know that's what it takes. And at the end of the day, it really is that grit. And it really is connecting with that authenticity, your authenticity connected with the other person's authenticity to make, to really make a connection there.
Right. Totally. That ultimately is how it will get followed through. But, it takes a special type of confidence or just can-do attitude.
Right. Absolutely. So I have one more question for you. What are two things you wish you knew then that you know now?
Wow. Two things I wish that I know now.
Someone was starting out and they wanted to make a transition between a job and going into business. What would you share with them? What are those two things that you wish someone had shared with you when you first started out that would have been so helpful?
I think one thing is I knew it was going to be hard for sure. I think the important thing to know is it's going to be hard, but it's okay. You got this. One foot in front of the other. Like, keep on moving is really important. Like, know that it's hard, but keep on moving. Keep on moving forward. And the second thing is, and maybe this is more specific to women than men, but I, have had to understand kind of my strength and my inner strength and my confidence to know that, hey, I may not have been in this situation before, but I have a good head on my shoulders. I have a strong true north in my stomach around what is right. There's something called follow your gut, and everyone, you should do more of it. Because it's so easy to second guess yourself amidst a lot of industry experts saying, this is what has happened before, this is what I would do. But easy is not always the right thing to do, and what someone says may not be the right thing for the situation.
Right, exactly. Because at the end of the day, others can give you suggestions what worked for them. And at the end of the day, you've got to decide to listen and to modify and make sure that it's consistent and in alignment with your true north.
Right. 100%.
That's right. And that, I think that gives you that added benefit of confidence when you feel it intuitively that this is the right way to go. And I've modified it, and that may have worked for them, and that is great. But for me in this situation, this is the way I'm going to go. And I think it adds another layer of entrepreneurial confidence, don't you?
Oh, 100%. I think that just bodes well for kind of either strengthening the confidence because you're like, I did right and I did right by my true north, or you learned something. In either case, it could totally work.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Vanessa, this totally worked. Thank you so much for, I know you're so busy and you are it's an active business and you're growing and expanding. And I just am so happy that you were able to share so many of these gems with our listeners. So thank you so much.
Yeah, happy to do it. It was a pleasure chatting with you, Ruth. Can't wait to see you again.
Yes, we'll do that.
Awesome. Thanks so much and have a good one.
Thank you for joining Generation Why Not. We look forward to receiving any questions you may have, as Ruth will be answering them on this podcast. Follow Ruth.Klein on Instagram or email rklein@ruthklein.com. Until next time, a short reminder that success is driven by attitude, not age.